going on, everybody? I'm gonna kind of try to keep these going. If you don't mind, It's morning. I got some bedhead. It doesn't matter. It does not matter because I'm in the booth. Today I'm doing one ear out. My glasses make these headphones specifically squeak. I don't know. All right. Need my tea here. I don't know if I've done a little commercial for these. Here's my tea. And I have this thing called a can keeper by Bottle Keeper. That, because aluminum, we don't want that. So I put it in here. And I match up the lid. And now I got nice little blood orange Earl Grey tea. And there won't be any reflections, I don't think. A little bit like that, but set it back here. And I should be good to go. Alright, I am continuing through Anna Mocikat's Behind Blue Eyes. I do have a video I'm going to be posting soon of her and I working through this, and she interviews me, I interview her. Pretty cool little YouTube video. I had some audio issues because of my setup here. I accidentally doubled up the mic, and so I got this little echo whenever I talked for the first 30 minutes. So, I have a friend looking at that. Give me a second. I'm going to mute the microphone and clear sinus passageway. So, please stand by as I get this ready. Let's see here. All right. We're good to go. Like I said, I'm continuing through Anna Mocikat's Behind Blue Eyes. I wanted to do this because I think I have my spectral view working completely. So I wanted to be able to do this, kind of show the spectral editing as I work through this audiobook. So I have to start my day job in about 50 minutes. So just going to do a little bit. And when you're doing this part-time, it's literally all about just chipping away at the project. I haven't done a lot of major publisher stuff, pursued it. Not necessarily major publisher, but even like paid work publishers, because since I'm doing this part-time, it's hard for me to stick to a definite due date. And it's obviously something I'm working towards. But right now, since I kind of got a little trigger happy when I first started, so I have stuff on my calendar from a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, that I accepted that I'm still trying to get through to on my royalty share calendar. So my whole plan this year is to basically get through all of the royalty share stuff that I have on my calendar, accept a few projects, not many, for the next year, and really start pursuing some paid work in conjunction with royalty share type stuff. So that's the plan. I don't really have a huge a quick timeline. This is a long-term thing because my day job, I got pretty good benefits and everything, so I don't want to throw away free money, right? So I kind of have the luxury to kind of slowly chip away as long as the communication between me and the authors is good. So far, so good. Anna has been great because with everything, I wanted to get to the sooner, and I kind of bumped hers a little bit ahead because she has a huge. I bumped this project ahead of some other projects because she has a marketing plan in place, and I knew starting off the year with this, it would be a good gamble to kind of get a very good seller out there right away in this year, so I can hopefully make some money back and start funding some, being able to kind of fund the business that way. And then I'll be getting to some paid work here next. So, I'm rambling. Here I'm trying to find where I'm at. And then I'm talking, getting distracted. Here we go. So, we're at a dinner scene with Nephilim and Metatron. And alright, so she's eating steak. Then did when she was around. She didn't want him to get in trouble because of his loose lips. Here we go. Didn't want him to get in trouble because of his loose lips. Didn't want him to direct my Apple Pencil becomes my directing wand. Didn't want him to get in trouble because of his loose lips. Metatron kept observing her closely as she began eating. And she did everything she could to not let on. Sorry. And she did everything she could to not let. And she did everything she could. And she did everything she could to not let on that is. And she did everything she could to not let on that his last words made her feel uncomfortable. Let me fix this up. It's always about getting in that groove. And she did everything she could. A little bit harder when you know you have other things to do if you're doing this part-time. And she did everything she could closely as she began eating. And she did everything she could closely as she began eating. And she did everything she could to not let on that his last words made her feel uncomfortable. Sorry about the snorting. It's just, it is what it is right now. I'll have to talk to some other narrators and see if they do this a lot. Not some of them, a lot of them do this on Discord live. I had this set up to do it on YouTube and stuff live, but I'm not that brave yet. I like to record it, and then if I fuck up like bigly, I just scrap the whole recording. Let on that his last words made her feel uncomfortable. He knew that she understood their subtext, which was why she answered with a smile, to show that she wasn't bothered by his interest, and that, instead, she was flattered. He knew that she understood their subtext, which was why she answered with a smile, to show that she wasn't uncomfortable. He knew that she understood their subtext. Okay, and I'm going to move to spectral view here. Words made her feel uncomfortable. Feel uncomfortable. Subtext, which was why she answered with a smile, to show that she wasn't bothered by his, to show that she wasn't bothered by his interest, and that, instead, she was flattered. Show that she And we're back, baby. We're back, baby. Instead, she was flattered. Instead, she was flattered. The steak was bloody when she cut into it, and it was an unfamiliar taste in her mouth. Like most people, she was only used to protein dishes. What constituted as fake meat. What constituted as fake meat. What constituted as fake meat. Most people, when she cut into it. The steak was bloody when she cut into it. I rushed that. Instead, she was flattered. The steak was bloody when she cut into it. My stomach just rumbled. Do it. You see what that looks like on the spectral view? I want to see. Do it. Cut into it. Do it. Into it. That's always fun. I usually find those when I'm doing the final mastering, because even with everything, it still barely comes through right at the bottom. Do it. And it was an unfamiliar taste. What was that? Into it. And it was an unfamiliar taste. She cut into it. And it was an unfamiliar taste in her. She cut into it. And it was an unfamiliar taste in her mouth. Like most people, in her mouth. Like most people, she was only used to protein dishes. What constituted as fake meat. It had a little click in here. I try not to get too caught up in this, but it was an unfamiliar taste. It was an unfamiliar taste in her mouth. And it was an unfamiliar. The spectral view is so awesome. That's one of the things I had to learn when I was starting this up. I learned, once I learned about spectral view, I was like, oh my God, what an amazing tool. That's fake, especially when you're self-mastering your stuff. Used to protein dishes. What constituted as fake meat. They were much cheaper to produce and more effective to feed masses of consumers. If I can just get through without stopping. More effective to feed masses of consumers. And people believed that this was the only way a modern civilized society should be nourished. And people believed that this was the only way. And people believed that this was the only way a modern civilized. Hold on. Reset, John. And more effective to feed masses of consumers. And people believed that this was the only way a modern civilized society should be nourished. And people believed that this was the only way And people believed that this was the only way a modern civilized society should be nourished. I can dig it. And it's always a weird balance. Masses of consumers. And people believed that feed masses of consumers. And people believed that trying to keep it conversational and not a stale narration is like the constant thing that I'm always struggling with. I'm like, does this sound like I'm just talking? Am I over enunciating? You know, it's always something that I'm trying to keep in the back of my head, like make sure that I'm kind of keeping it cash, but not too casual, because then I'm just gravel mouth. This was the only way a modern civilized society should be nourished. Fresh vegetables, like the one Nephilim was served now, were scarce too. Food supplements and flavor enhancers were much cheaper and more profitable. And most people hated vegetables anyway. Fresh vegetables, like the one Nephilim, were scarce too. Food supplements and flavor enhancers were much cheaper. Were scarce too. Food supplements and flavor enhancers were much cheaper and more profitable. And most people hated vegetables anyway. Vegetables are good for you, kids. Eat your vegetables anyway. As I tell my kids, they help you poop. Oh, my headphones are squeaking. For a while, I was doing this without my glasses. I might have to move that way again. Or get new headphones. But these headphones are so nice and so comfortable. But they squeak. Anyway. And most people hated vegetables anyway. Delicious, she said after swallowing the first bites. So Nephilim, I need to kind of play her like she's trying to be charming, she said. Delicious. She's trying to be nice. Wait. Excuse me. Wait. Delicious, she said after swallowing the first. So I play her as more robotic when she's like on a mission, or when she's around people she doesn't really know. Right now, she's basically trying to impress her boss, her boss, who's considering her to join like the higher ranks of these archangels. So she's trying to be, trying to give that back, but she doesn't know what he's up to. Metatron's a tricky bastard. Delicious, she said after swallowing the first bites. That characteristic, thin smile appeared on Metatron's face. Nothing beats the taste of blood. The stakes are brought in from Olympias 3. They still have stock farms there, though. That characteristic, thin smile appeared. Nothing beats the taste of blood. Face. Blood. The stakes are brought in. Blood. So he's eating and watching her, okay. Nothing beats the taste of blood. The stakes are brought in from Olympias 3. They still have stock farms there, though, of course. Small in comparison to what they had in the pre-corporate times. It's not bad in Olympias 3, but I like 2 better. The stakes are brought in from Olympias 3, but I like 2 better. And Metatron's trying to be charming and semi-seductive here, but not over-seductive. He's playing it safe, but I like 2 better. I hear it's a nice place for a vacation. Better. I hear it's a nice 2 better. I hear it's a nice place for a vacation. I hear it's a nice place for a vacation. I said it too fast. That's my struggle is trying not to rush. 2 better. I hear for vacation. They say when you're learning how to do narration and even voiceover work, slow the fuck down. Is what coaches say. I hear it's a nice place for a vacation. Ordinary people do not travel. and most never even left Olympus 1. It wasn't necessary to travel anywhere. It wasn't necessary to travel anywhere, since Olympus City offered everything from leisure and entertainment. Eh. Since Olympus City offered everything from leisure and entertainment a human being could possibly wish for. Ordinary people did not travel, and most never even left, it wasn't necessary, and most never travel, and most never even left Olympus 1. Ordinary people did not travel, and most never even left Olympus 1. It wasn't necessary to travel. Let's try this again. Most never even left Olympus 1. It wasn't necessary to travel anywhere, since Olympus City offered everything from leisure and entertainment a human being could possibly wish for. It wasn't necessary to travel anywhere, since Olympus City offered everything from leisure to travel anywhere. Since Olympus City offered everything. Let's try to scratch this in. City offered everything from leisure and entertainment a human being could possibly wish for. City offered everything from leisure and entertainment a human being could possibly wish for. A human being could possibly wish for. Entertainment a human being could possibly wish for. Besides, the VR made it possible to go anywhere, anytime. So why make an effort? Caught a misread. Yes. Oh. Anytime. So why make an effort? Anytime. The VR mode. Besides, the VR made it possible to go anywhere. Besides, the VR wish for. Besides, the VR made it possible to go anywhere. The VR made it possible to go anywhere, anytime. Anywhere, anytime. So why make an effort? Let's hear that. Besides, the VR made it possible to go anywhere, anytime. Anywhere, anytime. Besides, possible to go anywhere, anytime. So why make an effort? Possible to go anywhere, anytime. Possible to go anywhere, anytime. So why make an effort? Possible to go. All right. Okay. I like that. Anytime. So why make an effort? Only members of the inner circle traveled to the other cities for vacation, as many had private aircraft, and the coastal regions of the satellite cities were covered with come on, Sean. And the coastal regions of the satellite cities were covered with mansions. Only members of the inner circle traveled to the other. Make an effort. Only members of the inner circle traveled to the other cities for vacation, as many had private aircraft, and the coastal regions of the satellite See, I like how this transitions. As many had private aircraft, and the coastal regions of the for vacation, as many had private aircraft, and the coastal regions of the satellite cities were covered with mansions, hopefully that matches. Private aircraft, and the coastal regions of the satellite cities were covered with mansions. That's better. The directions of the satellite cities were covered with mansions. Metatron chuckled. A noise Nephilim had never heard from him before. A noise Nephilim had never heard from him before. A noise Nephilim had never heard from him before. Tron chuckled. Now I gotta fix something because, I chuckled when I said something in Metatron's voice earlier. That his last words made her feel uncomfortable. Was he watching her all the time? Why? Didn't he have anything better to do with his time? She would need to discreetly warn Adriel. He knew that she understood their... I believe true hunters should consume meat. No. Nephilim... Never heard of that band. Or is it a solo artist? Metatron smirked. You can say that. Yes. Say that. I gotta get rid of the yes. Which I thought made sense, but if she's never heard him chuckle, I'm not even I'm gonna make sure there's no even sense of a chuckle. Metatron smirked. You can say that. Yes. Yes. Say that. Yes. The robot. Say that. Yes. The robot. Say that. Yes. The robot. Yes. Alright, we need to extend. Metatron smirked. You can say that. Yes. Quite. Yes. The robot. Okay. Chuckled. Back in action. Before. Nephilim had never heard from him before. A noise Nephilim had never heard from him before. Chuckled. A noise Nephilim had never heard from him before. I never go on vacation, he said, amused. Why should I? Why should I? I'm not human. We have guardian angel branches in Olympus 2 and 3. The look on your face tells me that this surprises you, my dear Nephilim. I never go on vacation, he said, amused. Why should I? Why should I? I'm not human. Why should I? I'm not human. We have guardian angels branch. Not human. Look on your face. 2 and 3. I'm not human. We have guardian angel branches. I'm not human. Should I? I'm not human. We have guardian angel branches in Olympus 2 and 3. The look on your face tells me that this surprises you, my dear Nephilim. We have guardian angel branches in... I'm not human. We have guardian angel branches in Olympus 2 and 3. The look on your... So a little bit of a sound I gotta handle. It's 2 and 3. It's 2 and 3. And we're back. And we are back. Prizes you, Nephilim. Prizes you, my dear Nephilim. He took a sip of his wine before continuing. He took a sip of his wine before continuing, his smile turning into a sneer. Yes, I can read a lot from your face. Although you're brilliant at hiding what you think and feel. It makes it even more interesting. You would be surprised how well I know you. Oh, you conniving son of a bitch. He took a sip of his wine before... Metatron. He took a sip of his wine before continuing. His smile turning into a sneer. Before continuing. Prizes you, my dear Nephilim. He took a sip of his wine before continuing. He took a sip of his wine before continuing. He took a sip of his wine before continuing, his smile turning into a sneer, Yes, I can read a lot from your face. Sneer. Yes, I can read a lot from your face. Yes. Yes, I can read a lot from your face. All right, let's do that way. Wine before continuing, his smile turning into a sneer. Yes, I can read a lot from your face. Yes, I can read a lot from your face. Although you're brilliant, although you're brilliant at hiding what you... Yes, I can read a lot from your face. Although you're brilliant at hiding what you think and feel. It makes it even more interesting. You would be surprised. I'm going to get rid of a little clicky noise that I am positive that the mastering stack won't handle. Or maybe it will and I'll be surprised, but... Interesting. You would... even more interesting. There we go. That's that. Oh, I didn't switch the camera. Sorry, everybody. Sorry, you missed it. How well I know you. All right, well, let's see here. That's 2 pages. I'm slowly chipping away this long chapter. I'm 13 minutes in. I don't know how many I did this session, how many minutes, but how well I know. Let's continue this through, and I got 10 more minutes. Prized how well I know you. He paused. Prized how well I know you. He paused for a moment, letting his words stand between them while looking in her eyes. Letting his words stand between them while looking her in the eyes. Then continued. He paused for a moment, letting his words stand between them, letting his words stand between them, looking her in the eyes. Then continued. One of the biggest things I had to learn, I say this a lot, one of the biggest things I had to learn, something I had to really learn was how to just kind of soften up and just trust my instincts and not like project. So if you listen to earlier stuff, say like Warbots or the Warbots, I was trying to be like military, but say like maybe the fetishists, when I listen back, I hear that I'm a little too just always on like this and not kind of getting down to the more when I'm narrating. So I did that when it came to like character stuff, but when doing just kind of the, descriptions and everything else other than like dialogue or action scenes, I had to learn to just kind of trust my, lower my voice, soften up, relax. And that just takes time and experience. Luckily, I don't have any books that I'm like insanely embarrassed of. There might be a couple. I should use pseudonyms when I first started out. All right. While looking her in the eyes, then continued. Anyway, naturally, we have guardian angels in the satellites. 2 is especially infamous for its inhabitants being defiant from time to time. Hostiles also strike in satellites. From time to time. Inhabitants being defiant from time to time. Hostiles also strike in the satellites, but less frequently. That's why our That's why our outposts there are smaller than the HQ, but nevertheless important. 3 specializes in training. 3 specializes in training angels for missions on an 3 specializes in training angels for missions on enemy territory, which are usually one-way trips. The outposts are run by former archangels who have proven to be extraordinarily loyal and effective, but I visit regularly. Maybe I'll take you along sometime. Hostiles also strike in the from time to time. Hostiles also strike in the satellites, but less frequently. That's why our outpost frequently. That's why. But nevertheless important. 3 specialized. 3 important. 3 specializes in training angels for missions on enemy territory, which are usually one-way trips. 3 specializes in training angels for missions on enemy territory. Important. But nevertheless important. 3 specializes in training angels for missions. But nevertheless important. 3 specializes in training angels for missions on enemy territory, which are usually one-way trips. 3 specializes in training angels for missions on important. 3 specializes in training angels for missions on enemy territory. Okay. But nevertheless important. 3 specializes in training angels for missions on enemy territory, which are usually one-way trips. 3 especially one-way trips. The outposts are run by former archangels who trips. The outposts one-way trips. The outposts are run by former archangels who have proven to be extraordinarily loyal and effective. But I visit. Maybe I'll take you along regularly. Maybe I'll take you along sometime. Maybe I'll take you along sometime. Maybe I'll take you along sometime. Do that 'cause he's trying to. But I visit regularly. Effective. But I visit regularly. Maybe I'll take you along sometime. Nephilim kept silent. Never in her life had she felt as naked and vulnerable as she did. Never in her life had she felt as naked and vulnerable as she did in that moment. As she did at this moment. Vulnerable as she did at this moment. Vulnerable as she did at this moment. She felt as naked along sometime. Regularly. Maybe I'll take you along. But I visit regularly. Maybe I'll take you along sometime. Silent. Never in her life had she felt as silent. Never in her life had she felt as naked and vulnerable. Had she felt as naked and vulnerable as she did at this moment. As she did at this. Too robotic. Never in her life had she felt as naked and vulnerable as she did at this moment. The outposts in Olympus 2 and 3 weren't of much The outposts in Olympus 2 and 3 weren't of much interest to her. But what he said before was. But what he said weren't of much interest to her. weren't of much interest to her. Olympias 2 and 3 weren't of weren't of much interest in 3 weren't of much interest to her. But what he said before was to her. But what he said before was post in Olympias, the outpost, this moment. Vulnerable as she did at this moment. The outposts in Olympias 2 and 3 weren't of much interest to her. But what he said before was. What he said before was. Was it really true? Was it really true? Or was he just bluffing? If he really knew what she was thinking, wouldn't she be sitting in the euthanasia chamber? If he really knew what she was thinking, wouldn't she be sitting in the euthanasia chamber instead of wouldn't she be sitting in the euthanasia chamber instead of eating dinner with him? Wouldn't she be sitting in the euthanasia chamber instead of eating dinner with him? Was it really true? Was it really? Was he just bluffing, or was it? I'm looking at the time and I'm starting to get like, I gotta finish. Really true? Or was it just really true? Or was he true? Or was he just bluffing? If he really knew what bluffing. If he really wouldn't she be really knew what she was thinking. If he really instead of wouldn't she be if he really knew what she was thinking. If he really knew bluffing. If he really knew what she was he just bluffing? If he really knew what she was thinking, wouldn't she be thinking? Instead of eating, wouldn't she be sitting in the what she was thinking? Wouldn't she be sitting in the euthanasia chamber instead of eating dinner with him? Instead of eating dinner with him? All right. Cool. All right, I gotta save this and get signed in for my freaking day job bullshit. It's not bullshit. It's a good job. I just enjoy doing this more. So I'm almost 15 minutes into chapter 6, finished minutes. It's taking me a little slower, but it's just all about chipping away and doing for me, putting out as good of a project as I possibly can, because right now my portfolio is what matters, not necessarily the quantity. So right now I'm operating in quality over quantity, as opposed to just trying to push out as much stuff as I can, because I'm not necessarily trying to make a living from this yet, but I'm trying to build a portfolio so when I do transition, that I have this kind of history of, hopefully good work, that, people who hire narrators can look back and go, oh, okay, this guy's, very intentional with the work that he does. So that's my goal. We'll see if it all works out. But I got time. I mean, I'm not in a rush to make this a full-time gig, because, like I said, my day job is pretty good. So, all right. Well, that's gonna do it for this time. I got 10 minutes. I gotta basically put myself together for Zoom calls and stuff. So I'll talk to all of you next time. Thanks for watching. If you made it all the way to the end, thank you. Hopefully this stuff is interesting, and I'm just happy that I'm actually motivated to do this shit, because I was not at all last year. So hopefully this is fun. I have a conversation with Mocikat, author of this book, coming up very soon on this channel, so subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to that. I'm also going to be posting she's been doing these awesome snippets of the chapters I've been sending her, like little 1 to 2 minute things, and she's just doing such a great job. It's cool. So I'll be posting those on this channel. She'll be posting them on her channel, and so good stuff all the way around. Hopefully I'll have this conversation posted soon. I have an audio engineering friend who's trying to get rid of that echo, But I may post it with the echo. Screw it. I mean, it's such a good conversation. If you don't, I'll just put a disclaimer up. All right, everybody. Like I said, thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me for 45 minutes. And I'll talk to you next time.